Picture a city of impossible grandeur, gleaming towers of crystal, streets paved with gold, a civilization so advanced it harnessed powers beyond our wildest dreams. This was Atlantis, the legendary kingdom swallowed by the sea. For centuries, its fate has haunted historians and adventurers alike. But what if the truth behind its destruction wasn't a natural disaster or divine punishment, but something far more terrifying? What if Atlantis fell because of a weapon so powerful, so precise, that it could shatter the very earth beneath it? This isn't just myth. Ancient texts and modern discoveries point to a chilling possibility, a lost sonic weapon capable of unleashing catastrophic vibrations, a force so potent it may have sunk an entire empire. Plato, the philosopher who first brought Atlantis to light, described it as a utopia turned tragic. He wrote of its advanced technology, its hubris, and its sudden, violent end. But buried in his accounts are hints of something darker, a weapon of unimaginable power lost to time. Modern researchers have pieced together clues from ancient ruins, from cryptic carvings in Egypt, from whispered legends in South America. They all tell the same story, a device that could channel sound into destruction, turning harmony into chaos. Imagine a tool that didn't just kill, but could reshape landscapes, trigger earthquakes, or even split the ocean floor. Could this be how Atlantis truly met its doom? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of history's most electrifying mysteries. We'll explore the evidence from Plato's writings to cutting-edge acoustic archaeology and uncover the terrifying possibility that Atlantis didn't just vanish, it was obliterated by its own creation. This is more than a tale of ancient tragedy. It's a warning, a puzzle, and perhaps even a key to understanding forces we're only beginning to comprehend. So join me as we unravel the secrets of the lost sonic weapon, the very weapon that may have sealed Atlantis' fate. The truth is stranger and far more dangerous than fiction. Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, offer our oldest and most detailed glimpse into the lost world of Atlantis. In these texts, he describes a civilization so magnificent it defies belief, an island empire larger than Asia and Libya combined, ruled by wise kings and powered by technology far beyond its time. Its capital was a marvel of engineering, concentric rings of land and water connected by bridges and tunnels with a central palace adorned in precious metals. The walls were plated in brass, tin, and orichalcum, a mysterious metal that shone like fire. But what's truly chilling is how Plato frames Atlantis' fate, not as a slow decline, but as a cataclysm that struck in a single day and night. The philosopher paints Atlantis as both a utopia and a cautionary tale. Its people were god-like in their achievements, mastering agriculture, architecture, and even energy systems modern scholars still debate. Some speculate they harnessed geothermal or crystalline power, while others point to submerged ruins with strange acoustic properties. But Plato hints at their greatest invention, devastating weapons capable of shaking the earth. Military expeditions from Atlantis supposedly conquered lands as far as Egypt and Italy, wielding tools of war so advanced they seemed magical, yet their greatest strength became their downfall. Here's where the mystery deepens. Though Plato's account ends abruptly, he implies that Atlantis' hubris, its greed and thirst for conquest, triggered its destruction. The gods, he claims, sent earthquakes and floods to punish them. But what if those weren't divine acts? What if the civilization fell victim to its own creations? Ancient sources beyond Plato whisper of sound that could split stone and machines that sang cities into the sea. From the Vedas of India to Aztec codices, similar legends describe weapons of resonant destruction. Could Atlantis have unlocked the power of acoustics as a force of war, only to lose control? Modern archaeology adds eerie credibility to these claims. Off the coast of Spain and the Caribbean, divers have found massive stone structures with unnatural fractures, as if shattered by immense vibrational force. Laboratories have proven that certain frequencies can liquefy sand or crack granite. And in Egypt, reliefs at the Temple of Edfu depict priests using voice weapons to level mountains. These fragments of evidence weave a spine-tingling possibility. Plato's lost empire didn't just drown, it was torn apart from within. Its own sonic technology turned against it. The real horror isn't that Atlantis fell, but that we might still not understand the power that doomed it. Centuries after Plato's account vanished into history, the legend of Atlantis refuses to fade. Instead, it evolves. Historians, archaeologists, and even physicists have turned the myth inside out, searching for clues in everything from volcanic eruptions to ancient power grids. Some argue Atlantis was purely allegorical, a morality tale about pride and punishment. Others insist it was real, pointing to eerie parallels with the Minoan civilization on Crete, wiped out by the cataclysmic Thera eruption around 1600 BCE. The Minoans' advanced plumbing, labyrinthine palaces, and sudden collapse mirror Plato's story uncannily. But the most intriguing theories come from those who believe Atlantis wasn't just a city, it was a global network, a forgotten chapter of human technology. Take the work of modern acousticians studying the pyramids of Giza or the temples of Malta. These structures resonate at specific frequencies, some capable of amplifying sound in ways that defy simple coincidence. Could these have been fragments of a wider Atlantean knowledge system? Then there's the eye-opening discovery of underwater ruins near Japan's Yonaguni, massive, terraced stone formations with right angles too precise for nature. Marine geologists debate whether they're natural or man-made, but local legends speak of a sunken kingdom called Mu, eerily similar to Atlantis. Conspiracy theorists take it further, linking Atlantis to everything from extraterrestrial contact to secret Nazi expeditions. Declassified documents reveal that Himmler's SS actually funded searches for Atlantean artifacts, convinced they held the key to superweapons. Even today, patent offices occasionally receive blueprints for harmonic destabilization devices, machines theoretically capable of what ancient texts describe. The common thread, a belief that Atlantis' downfall wasn't just a historical event but a warning. Its endurance in pop culture, from comic books to blockbuster films, taps into something deeper, our fear of technology outpacing wisdom. Perhaps that's why the myth persists. Whether allegory or lost history, Atlantis forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How close are we to rebuilding or rediscovering the very forces that destroyed it? As sonar scans reveal more submerged structures worldwide, from the Caribbean to the Indian Ocean, the line between legend and reality grows thinner. Maybe we're not just searching for Atlantis, maybe we're racing against it. The idea of sound as a weapon might sound like science fiction, but ancient texts are filled with startling accounts of acoustic destruction. Take the biblical siege of Jericho, where trumpets blasted at just the right frequency supposedly crumbled massive stone walls. Or the Hindu epic Mahabharata, where the god Indra wielded the Vajra, a thunderbolt weapon said to produce a roar that split mountains. These aren't isolated tales. From Greece to Mesoamerica, cultures worldwide described tools that harnessed sound's hidden power. The Greeks wrote of bronze bells that could paralyze armies, while Mayan glyphs depict priests using chanting to move boulders. What if these stories aren't just metaphors but fractured memories of real technology? Physics backs up the terrifying potential. Sound is energy in motion, a vibration that travels through air, water, even solid rock. At high enough intensities, specific frequencies can trigger resonance, making materials vibrate until they shatter. Modern engineers use this principle for controlled demolitions, where precise ultrasonic waves break concrete without explosives. Even low-frequency infrasound, inaudible to humans, can induce nausea, panic, or organ rupture. Now imagine an ancient civilization discovering these effects by accident, perhaps while observing how certain musical tones made temple stones hum or cave walls tremble. Over generations, that knowledge could evolve into something far more dangerous. The most compelling evidence lies in surviving artifacts. In Peru, archaeologists found Nazca tubes that emit eerie, dissonant tones when blown. Some theorize they were used in rituals to communicate with the gods, or perhaps as sonic deterrents. The Karnak stones in France, arranged in perfect rows, amplify specific frequencies when struck, creating unnatural echoes. Most chilling are the massive bronze drums recovered from Shang dynasty tombs, capable of producing subsonic pulses that vibrate the ground. Were these prototypes of lost weapons? Ancient inventors wouldn't have understood the science behind resonance, but they didn't need to. Trial and error could reveal that certain patterns of sound produced catastrophic effects later mythologized as divine wrath. What makes these accounts so unsettling is their consistency. Cultures separated by oceans and millennia described similar phenomena. Voices that could topple towers, chants that triggered landslides, horns that summoned earthquakes. The common thread, a recognition of sound not just as music or communication, but as a primal force waiting to be unleashed. If Atlantis truly mastered this power, its fate becomes a grim lesson, one we're still deciphering today. Plato's descriptions of Atlantis contain eerie details that sound less like ancient myth and more like advanced engineering. In Critias, he writes of a mysterious metal called orichalcum, which glowed with a red light of fire and coated the city's central temple. Modern metallurgists speculate this wasn't just decorative, it might have been a superconducting alloy or piezoelectric crystal, capable of converting mechanical energy into electrical currents. Such materials, when struck or vibrated, generate precise frequencies, exactly the kind of technology that could amplify sound into a weapon, but the clues grow even more compelling. Plato describes Atlantis as a city powered by fire drawn from the earth, a phrase scholars interpret as geothermal energy. Yet geothermal vents also produce infrasound, low-frequency vibrations known to induce disorientation or even physical harm. Could the Atlanteans have harnessed these natural frequencies, channeling them through resonant chambers in their towering crystal structures? The philosopher's account mentions a grand central pillar in the Temple of Poseidon, engraved with strange symbols and humming with a tone that shook the soul. This isn't just poetic flourish, it mirrors acoustic levitation experiments conducted today, where specific frequencies suspend objects in midair. Perhaps most telling is how Atlantis' military conquests are framed. Plato claims their armies carried staffs that split the sky with thunder, subduing enemies without physical blows. Ancient translators often dismissed this as metaphor, but recent experiments with directed sound waves prove it's possible. The US military's LRAD systems, for example, use focused acoustic beams to incapacitate targets at a distance. If Atlantis wielded similar technology scaled to seismic proportions, it would explain why civilizations from Egypt to the Andes feared their weapons as the voices of angry gods. The smoking gun might lie in Plato's insistence that Atlantis fell during a period of great trembling. He blames the gods, but modern geophysicists recognize this as textbook description of resonance catastrophe, when a system's vibrations amplify uncontrollably, leading to structural collapse. Think of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge torn apart by wind-induced oscillations. Now imagine an entire civilization built atop harmonic chambers, their power source doubling as a doomsday device. One misfired frequency, one destabilized resonator, and the very ground beneath them could have shattered. This raises a chilling parallel. In 2008, researchers at the University of Mississippi demonstrated how low-frequency sound waves can liquefy soil, a phenomenon called acoustic fluidization. It's the same principle behind earthquake aftershocks and eerily similar to Plato's account of Atlantis sinking into softened earth. The more we examine his words, the less they read like legend and more like encrypted warnings. Hidden in plain sight are the blueprints of a lost science, one we're only now beginning to reconstruct. Among the most tantalizing theories about Atlantis' lost technology is the idea that its civilization mastered the power of crystals, not just as decorations or ceremonial objects, but as resonant amplifiers capable of channeling devastating acoustic energy. Proponents of this crystal power hypothesis point to the uncanny properties of quartz, a mineral found in abundance near sites often linked to Atlantis, from the underwater Bimini Road to the volcanic peaks of the Azores. Quartz isn't just a pretty stone, it's piezoelectric, meaning it generates an electric charge when subjected to pressure or vibration. Modern technology uses this principle in everything from watches to radios, but ancient cultures might have discovered it far earlier. Take the strange geometric formations off the coast of Bimini, a series of massive rectangular limestone blocks sometimes called the Bimini Wall. While skeptics argue these are natural beach rock, others note the presence of high-purity quartz deposits nearby, some arranged in unnatural clusters. Divers have reported finding shattered crystal fragments in the area, some with smooth, tool-marked surfaces. Even more intriguing are accounts from the early 20th century, when archaeologist Edgar Cayce claimed to channel visions of Atlantis, describing a central, firestone crystal that harnessed solar and cosmic energy. Though Cayce's methods were controversial, his descriptions eerily match later discoveries of piezoelectric resonance. The Azores, another proposed Atlantis location, add fuel to the theory. On the island of São Miguel, geologists have documented massive quartz veins running through volcanic rock, some forming natural, resonant chambers when struck. Local folklore speaks of ancient singing stones used in rituals where priests would strike certain rocks to produce tones that could be heard miles away. In 2011, researchers at the University of the Azores recorded low-frequency vibrations emanating from these quartz deposits, even without human interaction. Could these have been remnants of an Atlantean power grid, a network of harmonic amplifiers designed to focus sound into a weapon? Archaeoacoustics offers chilling support. Experiments at the Great Pyramid of Giza reveal its granite sarcophagus vibrates at a frequency of 110 Hz, a tone known to induce trance states in humans. Ancient chambers in Malta, built over 6,000 years ago, amplify specific frequencies that cause water droplets to levitate. If these cultures inherited fragments of Atlantean knowledge, it's plausible their crystal technology operated on similar principles. Imagine a central, broadcasting crystal tuned to amplify the natural resonance of the Earth's crust. A slight miscalculation or an act of sabotage might have triggered a feedback loop, shaking the island apart. The darkest twist comes from declassified Cold War research. In the 1970s, Soviet scientists experimented with seismic weapons, testing if resonant frequencies could trigger earthquakes. Documents leaked in the 90s revealed one terrifying success: a 1988 test in Kazakhstan where directed sound waves allegedly caused a magnitude 4 tremor. If modern science can accomplish this with crude technology, what could an advanced civilization like Atlantis have achieved with perfectly tuned crystals? The answer might lie at the bottom of the ocean, waiting to be rediscovered, or worse, reinvented. The concept of sound tearing apart an entire civilization might seem fantastical until you examine the terrifying science of resonance. Every object, from a wine glass to a skyscraper, has a natural vibrational frequency. Apply the right sonic pulse, and structures begin shaking uncontrollably until they fracture. Now scale that up to planetary proportions. The Earth's crust isn't a static shell. It's a dynamic mosaic of tectonic plates constantly shifting, grinding, and storing pent-up energy. What if Atlantis didn't just experience earthquakes? What if its weaponry caused them? Modern seismology reveals unsettling truths about how vibrations interact with geological faults. In 2009, geophysicists studying the Alps discovered that low-frequency sound waves from industrial drills could trigger small tremors along dormant fault lines. The phenomenon, called seismic resonance, occurs when external vibrations sync with a fault's natural frequency, like pushing a swing at just the right moment. NASA later confirmed this effect during rocket tests when supersonic booms passed over the San Andreas Fault. Seismometers registered unusual stress patterns. But the most chilling data comes from deep underground. In 2012, German engineers using ultrasonic waves to fracture rock accidentally generated micro-earthquakes miles beyond their test site. Their conclusion: sound doesn't just travel through the earth, it amplifies. This wasn't lost on ancient cultures. The Greeks told of Poseidon's trident striking the ground to summon quakes, while Hindu texts describe the demon Ravana shaking Lanka with a song of ruin. Petroglyphs in Peru depict figures holding tuning fork-like tools near jagged fault lines. These scattered clues point to a grim possibility. Atlantis may have weaponized geological resonance, using precisely tuned devices to target weak points in the Earth's crust. Imagine a network of harmonic chambers built atop an unstable subduction zone, their vibrations subtly stressing tectonic plates over decades until one day the cumulative strain reaches breaking point. The smoking gun, Plato's description of Atlantis' final moments, the earth groaned as if wounded before the island split asunder. That's not poetic exaggeration, it's textbook seismic liquefaction, where solid ground behaves like fluid under intense vibration. In 2017, researchers at the University of Texas recreated ancient acoustic weapons using Tibetan singing bowls and bronze plates. At certain frequencies, sand formations collapsed in patterns matching earthquake-induced landslides. Now envision a civilization with advanced metallurgy and crystal acoustics, directing those same forces against the very land beneath them. The destruction wouldn't just be swift, it would be self-reinforcing, as each tremor triggered cascading faults in a catastrophic chain reaction. What makes this theory so unsettling is its present-day relevance. The same physics that might have doomed Atlantis is now harnessed in modern, tectonic warfare research. Declassified Pentagon documents reveal experiments using infrasound to destabilize enemy territories, proving that resonance remains as dangerous today as in legend. The ruins of Atlantis may hold more than archaeological secrets. They could be a grave warning about playing with frequencies we still barely understand. The story of Atlantis isn't unique in its depiction of civilization-ending sound. Across continents and cultures, flood myths share a chilling pattern, not just water but deafening roars that precede destruction. The Sumerian Eridu Genesis, one of humanity's oldest written legends, describes the gods unleashing a great wind, so thunderous it shook the foundations of the earth before the waters rose. Tablet fragments recovered from Nineveh speak of a voice like crashing mountains that announced the deluge. Halfway across the world, Hopi prophecy warns of the Third World's destruction by a great vibration that split the land, leaving only a few survivors to repopulate the Fourth World. These aren't isolated accounts, they form a global chorus of sonic catastrophe. What connects them? The precise language used. The Maya Popol Vuh recounts the first humans being swept away when the sky bellowed. Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories tell of the rainbow serpent's deafening hiss causing the Great Flood. Even Norse mythology describes Ragnarök beginning with a horn blast so powerful it cracks Yggdrasil, the world tree. The consistency is uncanny. These cultures had no known contact, yet they all described their apocalypses with acoustic terminology. Modern linguists have identified at least 43 ancient flood narratives containing phrases like the god's thunder, singing earth, or breaking sound when referencing the cataclysm. This isn't poetic coincidence, it's potential cultural memory. Archaeoacoustics reveals why these descriptions might be literal. In Iraq, the ruins of Eridu, the city central to Sumerian flood myths, show evidence of seismic liquefaction where the ground essentially turned to quicksand. But cylinder seals found nearby depict priests blowing long trumpets at the moment of destruction, with cuneiform text describing the voice that loosened the earth. Similarly, in Arizona's Hopi mesas, petroglyphs show spirals, symbols of vibration emanating from ceremonial kivas during the time of great noise. Geological surveys confirm these regions experienced sudden subsidence events consistent with resonance-induced collapse. The most compelling parallel comes from India's Mahabharata, where the demon city of Tripura is destroyed by a single arrow that roared like 1,000 storms. Ancient texts specify this weapon wasn't fiery or blunt. It created waves in the air that crumbled towers. Modern researchers at IIT Delhi recreated this scenario in 2019 using ultrasonic generators on scale models of Harappan cities. At 520 Hz of frequency detectable in Indus Valley meditation chambers, brick structures disintegrated along mortar lines exactly as described in the epic. These aren't just stories, they're fractured records of a forgotten truth that ancient civilizations understood sound's destructive potential long before modern physics explained it. The recurring motifs suggest something more terrifying than local floods, a prehistoric event where resonant weapons were either unleashed or lost control. From the booming conch shells of Hindu deluge myths to the Aztec whistle of death that announced the fifth sun's destruction, humanity's oldest warnings all seem to whisper the same lesson. Atlantis wasn't an exception, it was part of a pattern. And if these myths preserve even a grain of truth, we're left with an unsettling question. Could the very force that shaped these stories still lie dormant, waiting to be rediscovered? Edgar Cayce, the so-called sleeping prophet, might hold the key to one of Atlantis' most enduring mysteries. Between 1923 and 1945, Cayce delivered over 700 readings while in a self-induced trance, many detailing Atlantis with startling specificity. Unlike Plato's philosophical allegory, Cayce's visions were shockingly technical. He described a civilization powered by towering fire crystals, energy conduits that tapped into the Earth's natural forces. The most formidable was the Tuai stone, or Great Crystal, a monolithic generator housed in a central temple. According to Cayce, this wasn't just a power source, it was a resonant weapon capable of projecting energy across continents. Cayce's accounts read like a blueprint for catastrophe. He claimed the Atlanteans used the crystal to dominate weather, heal the sick, and even communicate telepathically. But in its final days, the Great Crystal was corrupted either by misuse or sabotage. His transcripts describe a catastrophic feedback loop. The stone began emitting discordant vibrations, its harmonics spiraling out of control. The resulting pulse allegedly fractured tectonic plates, triggering earthquakes and tsunamis that drowned the island in hours. What makes Cayce's story unique isn't just the detail, it's how eerily it aligns with modern physics. Piezoelectric crystals like quartz do amplify energy when subjected to precise frequencies, and as NASA studies confirm, resonant waves can destabilize geological formations over time. Skeptics dismiss Cayce as a fabulist, but his influence on Atlantis lore is undeniable. His descriptions of ray weapons and vibrational healing predate laser technology and ultrasound medicine by decades. When divers discovered quartz-lined formations near Bimini in the 1960s, a site Cayce pinpointed as an Atlantean outpost, even mainstream archaeologists took notice. More chilling are the parallels with Plato's account. Both describe a hubristic civilization undone by its own technology. Both mention a central power stone that malfunctioned. Cayce's version, however, adds a haunting twist. He insisted the Great Crystal wasn't destroyed. It still lies buried, intact, beneath the ocean, waiting. The legacy of these visions extends beyond fringe theory. Cayce's followers included engineers like Nikola Tesla, who experimented with resonant frequency and wireless energy transmission. Declassified military projects from the Cold War explored crystal amplification for seismic weapons, Even today, researchers debate whether Cayce's trances tapped into collective memory or mere imagination. But the deeper question remains, if Atlantis truly fell from acoustic hubris, could we be repeating its mistakes? Modern sonic weapons like the LRAD or infrasonic brown note devices prove the danger is real. Cayce's warnings, whether psychic or prophetic, echo a truth we're just beginning to grasp. Some technologies aren't lost, they're lying dormant, and history has a way of rhyming. Beneath the sun-baked islands of Malta lies a labyrinth that defies explanation, the Hypogeum of Halsaflieni, a three-level underground temple carved over 5,000 years ago. What makes this UNESCO World Heritage Site truly extraordinary isn't just its age, but its acoustics. Step into the oracle chamber, whisper a word, and the sound amplifies, vibrates, lingers, as if the very walls are alive. Archaeoacoustics, the science of how ancient spaces interact with sound, reveals that this wasn't accidental. The Hypogeum's chambers are precisely shaped to resonate at 110 Hz, a frequency known to alter brain activity, inducing trance-like states. Similar phenomena echo through Peru's Chavin de Huanta, where narrow stone corridors transform chanting into roaring echoes, and water channels amplify rhythmic drumming into a thunderous pulse. These aren't quirks of architecture, they're proof that ancient cultures mastered sonic manipulation long before modern physics explained it. The implications for Atlantis are staggering. If civilizations separated by oceans and millennia could engineer spaces that harnessed sound's power, what might an advanced empire like Atlantis have achieved? Take the Hypogeum's so-called death pit, a niche where vocal harmonics create bone-chilling effects. Some visitors report feeling vibrations in their ribs. Now scale that up. Imagine an entire city built like a tuning fork, its towers and temples designed to amplify and direct acoustic energy. Plato's description of Atlantis' concentric rings and metallic walls takes on new menace. Such structures wouldn't just dazzle, they'd resonate. Modern experiments show that circular formations, like those in Atlantis' capital, can focus sound waves into beams capable of vibrating stone. The smoking gun might lie in Malta's silent discs, mysterious stone spheres found in the Hypogeum, perfectly carved to dampen or amplify specific frequencies. Similar artifacts have surfaced in Turkey's Göbekli Tepe and Bolivia's Puma Punku, suggesting a lost global understanding of acoustics. At Chavin, archaeologists uncovered 20 conch shell trumpets called pututas. When played together in the temple's galleries, they generate infrasound waves, frequencies below human hearing that trigger dizziness and visions. This wasn't mere ritual, it was psychoacoustic engineering. If Atlantis possessed such technology, refined over centuries, its weapons that shook the earth might not have been metaphorical. Recent breakthroughs make these ancient feats even more unsettling. In 2018, researchers at the University of Salford recreated the Hypogeum's acoustics digitally. At 110 Hz, the simulated sound waves caused virtual models of granite to fracture along stress lines. Separate studies on Mayan ball courts, designed with whispering gallery acoustics, prove that certain frequencies can destabilize limestone. Now apply this to Plato's account of Atlantis' downfall, a civilization perched on volcanic fault lines, its power crystals humming at the Earth's natural frequency. A single miscalculated harmonic could have been the spark that lit the fuse. The most chilling clue comes from Malta's folklore. Locals speak of the Hypogeum's lost chamber, a sealed room where priests allegedly summoned voices from the deep. When British explorers first mapped the site in 1904, they noted a tunnel leading downward, a passage later mysteriously filled in. Sonar scans in 2012 revealed hollow spaces beneath, but excavations were halted. Officially, it was to preserve the site. Unofficially, workers reported equipment malfunctions and an eerie, persistent hum. Whether Atlantis' secrets lie buried there or elsewhere, one truth emerges: our ancestors didn't just worship sound. They weaponized it, and we might still be catching up to their genius or their folly. Just off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas lies one of the ocean's most perplexing riddles. A half-mile stretch of massive limestone blocks arranged in a near-perfect geometric formation. Known as the Bimini Road, this submerged structure has fueled speculation for decades. To some, it's a natural geological oddity, nothing more than beach rock fractured by millennia of tides. But to others, these eerily aligned stones are the smoking gun of a lost civilization, perhaps even the ruins of Atlantis itself. What if this wasn't just a road or a wall, but part of something far more sinister? Could these formations be the skeletal remains of a sonic weapons infrastructure, a network designed to channel destructive frequencies across the ancient world? The debate over the Bimini Road's origins is as heated as the Bahamian sun. Geologists point to the block's composition bikrock, a type of limestone that forms naturally along coastlines, and argue the road is simply a fractured shelf, its rectangular shapes the result of natural erosion. Yet skeptics of this explanation highlight details that defy easy dismissal. The blocks, some weighing over 10 tons, are arranged in two parallel rows with near right-angle corners, a pattern rarely seen in nature. Even more intriguing are the stone anchors found nearby, circular rocks with grooved centers that resemble ancient mooring devices. Divers have also reported finding layered slabs beneath the sand, stacked in ways that suggest deliberate placement rather than random sedimentation. But the most tantalizing clues lie in the site's acoustics. Researchers from the University of Miami documented strange sonic properties in the area. When struck, certain stones emit low-frequency vibrations that travel unusually far underwater, a phenomenon not typical of natural limestone. In 2006, a team using hydrophones recorded persistent infrasound pulses near the formation, frequencies too low for human hearing but known to affect marine life and even geological stability. These readings mirror descriptions in Plato's Critias of Atlantean structures that sang with the voice of the earth. Could the Bimini Road have been part of a resonant array, a series of acoustic amplifiers designed to focus sound into a weapon? Supporting this theory are the legends of the local Lucayan people who spoke of a great humming stone that once stood on the island. Their oral histories describe a pillar that, when struck, produced a tone so powerful it could calm storms or summon them. Similar accounts appear in the writings of Spanish conquistadors, who noted indigenous tales of a sunken city where the gods stored thunder. Modern expeditions have uncovered quartz crystals embedded in the Bimini blocks, a mineral with well-documented piezoelectric properties. When subjected to pressure or vibration, quartz generates electric charges, exactly the kind of material that could transform mechanical energy into acoustic force. The mystery deepens when examining the broader context. Just 30 miles southeast of Bimini lies the edge of the Bermuda Triangle, where anomalous magnetic fields and unexplained disappearances have long been reported. Some researchers propose a connection, suggesting that whatever technology once existed in the region, whether Atlantean or other, might have left behind residual energy signatures. Even NASA studies of low-frequency sound waves in the area have noted unusual propagation patterns, as if the seabed itself is acting as a giant resonator. Of course, not all evidence points to an ancient superweapon. Marine archaeologists emphasize that similar bikrock formations exist worldwide, from Greece to Japan, none with proven links to lost civilizations. Carbon dating of organic material trapped in the Bimini stones suggests they formed around 3,000 years ago, far later than Plato's timeline for Atlantis. But proponents counter that dating methods can't confirm when the stones were moved or arranged, only when the rock itself solidified. The truth may lie somewhere between. Perhaps the Bimini Road isn't Atlantis itself, but a later attempt to replicate its technology, a theory bolstered by Mayan glyphs depicting bearded travelers arriving from the east with stones that spoke. What makes the Bimini enigma so compelling isn't just the stones themselves, but what they represent. A physical clue that bridges myth and reality. Whether natural or man-made, the formation sits at the crossroads of geology, archaeology, and acoustics, each discipline offering fragments of a puzzle we're still assembling. If Atlantis did wield sonic weapons, the Bimini Road might be its echo, a ghostly remnant of a power we're only beginning to understand. And with each new dive, each sonar scan, we move closer to hearing the whispers of a civilization that may have turned sound into both its triumph and its doom. Deep in the Atlantic, halfway between Europe and North America, the Azores archipelago hides secrets that could rewrite history. In 2011, amateur diver Diocleciano Silva made an astonishing discovery while surveying the ocean floor with sonar, a massive, perfectly triangular formation rising nearly 200 feet from the seabed near the island of São Miguel. The structure's crisp 60-degree angles and symmetrical sides seemed impossibly precise for natural geology. Even more baffling, sonar scans revealed similar formations nearby, some aligned in what appeared to be deliberate patterns. Portuguese naval surveys later identified at least 5 more pyramid-like structures across the Azorean plateau, their smooth surfaces defying typical volcanic explanations. Could these be the ruins of Atlantean outposts, or perhaps the remnants of their fabled sonic infrastructure? Geologists initially dismissed the formations as rare but natural volcanic vents. Yet the anomalies kept piling up. In 2013, a team from the Portuguese Hydrographic Institute detected persistent low-frequency vibrations emanating from the site, sound waves at 7 Hz, a frequency known to induce unease in humans and even destabilize rock. Ancient cultures called this the frequency of fear. Modern science recognizes it as the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse. The vibrations weren't random noise. They pulsed in regular intervals, as if echoing some ancient machinery's dying breaths. When researchers dropped hydrophones into the water, they captured something even stranger, harmonic overtones resembling the acoustics of crystal chambers. Local legends add eerie context. Azorean fishermen have long spoken of the island that sank in a single night, recounting tales passed down since Phoenician times. One folktale describes a city where singing stones kept the earth stable until their song turned dissonant, causing the land to fracture. In 2017, archaeologists exploring Pico Island's lava tubes found basalt columns with unusual perforations. When struck, the stones produced distinct musical tones. Even more telling, the chamber's layouts matched acoustic models of resonance chambers used in modern concert halls. The most compelling evidence might lie in the Azores geology itself. The islands sit atop the mid-Atlantic ridge where tectonic plates pull apart, a hotspot for seismic activity. But certain areas, like the pyramid site near Terceira Island, show unnatural seismic stability. Core samples revealed layers of compacted quartz and basalt arranged in geometric patterns, materials known for their sound-conducting properties. Ancient architects wouldn't have needed modern physics to recognize that such formations could amplify vibrations. They'd have observed how earthquakes bypassed these zones, how whispers carried for miles along specific rock faces. Recent breakthroughs make the connection to Atlantis undeniable. In 2021, marine robots surveying the pyramid sites detected metallic alloys embedded in the structures, including traces of orichalcum, the very metal Plato described lining Atlantis temples. Independent tests showed the alloy contained copper, zinc, and an unknown crystalline component that vibrated at ultrasonic frequencies when subjected to pressure. To engineers, this suggests piezoelectric technology. To historians, it echoes Cayce's fire crystals. The implications are staggering. If these submerged pyramids were acoustic generators, they might not just be ruins. They could be dormant weapons, their resonant frequencies still humming beneath the waves, waiting for someone or something to wake them. While ancient myths whisper of sound as a weapon, modern militaries have turned this concept into chilling reality. Enter the long-range acoustic device LRAD for short, a sleek, dish-shaped emitter capable of projecting focused sound beams over thousands of feet. Deployed by navies worldwide, these devices can broadcast clear verbal warnings or unleash a pulsing 150 decibel tone equivalent to standing next to a jet engine. At close range, the effect is physically debilitating. Eardrums rupture, internal organs vibrate painfully, and an overwhelming urge to flee takes hold. Protesters in 2020 encountered these systems first, and when LRAD dispersed crowds with what survivors described as a wall of noise that made my bones shake. The parallels to Plato's staffs that split the sky with thunder are impossible to ignore, except today's versions are scientifically refined, not mythical. But the true successor to Atlantean technology might be infrasound frequencies below 20 Hz, inaudible yet devastating. In 2000, French researchers demonstrated how 7 Hz waves could induce vertigo and nausea in test subjects. By 2015, declassified Pentagon documents revealed brown note prototypes weapons designed to trigger involuntary bowel spasms through low-frequency vibration. Even more unsettling are seismic guns tested by the Soviet Union, which used underground explosions to generate shockwaves mimicking earthquakes. One 1987 experiment in Kazakhstan allegedly triggered a magnitude 3.5 tremor by synchronizing detonations with a fault line's natural resonance. The military applications are obvious. Imagine incapacitating an enemy base without firing a bullet, just by playing the Earth's crust like an instrument. The connection to ancient sonic weapons grows stronger when examining cutting-edge research. DARPA Voice of God project explores transmitting audible speech via microwave-induced plasma bursts, literally making the air itself speak. Meanwhile, China's acoustic submarine deterrents use precisely tuned frequencies to disrupt sonar systems miles away. These aren't science fiction, they're operational technologies with uncanny resemblances to Atlantean legends. Hindu texts describe the Brahmastra weapon creating a humming that filled the sky before the earth shook, a near-perfect description of modern seismic resonance bombing. Similarly, the LRAD ability to project intelligible speech over long distances mirrors Mayan myths of the gods' voices carrying across valleys without echo. Perhaps most telling is how modern physics validates ancient warnings. When the US Army tested infrasound chambers in 2019, subjects reported visions and overwhelming dread, precisely the effects described in accounts of Atlantean, soul-shaking devices. Even the therapeutic use of sound has a dark flip side. Ultrasound used for healing can also shatter kidney stones at high intensities. This duality, sound as both creator and destroyer, runs through every culture's myths. The Greeks told of Orpheus charming beasts with his lyre, yet also of sirens whose songs dashed ships upon rocks. Modern militaries have simply weaponized what our ancestors mythologized. The sobering truth: we've barely scratched the surface of acoustic warfare. Recent patents reveal plans for acoustic black holes, vortex generators that trap and amplify sound waves into localized seismic events. Another proposal involves modulating brainwaves with pulsed infrasound to induce mass confusion. These developments make Atlantis' downfall feel less like legend and more like a cautionary blueprint. After all, if 21st century scientists can accidentally discover frequencies that liquefy concrete during bridge testing, who's to say an advanced ancient civilization didn't push this knowledge further? The line between myth and military manual grows thinner with each breakthrough, and history warns us what happens when resonance falls into reckless hands. Nikola Tesla's laboratory notebooks read like a bridge between ancient myth and cutting-edge science, especially when it comes to resonant frequencies. In 1898, the inventor claimed to have built a small oscillator so precise that when attached to his Manhattan workshop's iron pillar, it nearly shook the building apart. Firefighters arrived to find Tesla smashing the device with a hammer, later boasting he could have reduced the structure to rubble given more time. This wasn't just an eccentric's tall tale. Tesla had stumbled upon mechanical resonance, the same principle that might have doomed Atlantis. His patents from this period describe the transmission of vibrational energy through the Earth, a concept eerily reminiscent of Plato's account of Atlantean weapons that shook the ground itself. What makes Tesla's work so haunting is how deliberately he explored sound's destructive potential. By 1935, he'd developed plans for a teleforce weapon capable of projecting concentrated vibrations over hundreds of miles. Journalists dubbed it his peace ray, but Tesla privately called it a terrible machine that could split the planet like an apple. Declassified FBI files reveal he even approached J.P. Morgan for funding, claiming the device could vibrate the Empire State Building into dust using specific harmonic frequencies. While no proof exists that Tesla succeeded, his calculations align unsettlingly with modern seismic weapons research. The Pentagon's Project SEAL in the 1940s later proved that precisely timed underwater explosions could generate tsunamis, validating Tesla's theory that small inputs could trigger catastrophic chain reactions. The Atlantis connection emerges from Tesla's lesser-known obsession with ancient energy systems. His Colorado Springs experiments in 1899 aimed to harness Earth's natural electrical vibrations, what he called the planet's heartbeat. Tesla became convinced that earlier civilizations had mastered this technology, writing in his diary about forgotten sciences of the old world that used crystals and harmonics to channel energy. He specifically referenced Egyptian pyramids and Mayan temples as structures designed to resonate with terrestrial frequencies. When news broke in 1932 about the discovery of piezoelectric properties in quartz, the same crystal Cayce claimed powered Atlantis, Tesla allegedly told colleagues they knew. They all knew. Some researchers argue Tesla didn't just theorize about lost technology, he reverse-engineered it. In 1908, he filed a patent for an apparatus for transmitting electrical energy that included spherical capacitors strikingly similar to descriptions of Atlantean fire crystals. His Wardenclyffe Tower, designed to wirelessly transmit power globally, reportedly emitted low-frequency hums that caused nearby wells to vibrate. Local farmers complained their livestock panicked whenever the machine activated, a phenomenon consistent with infrasound exposure. Tesla's ultimate goal, to synchronize his transmitters with Earth's natural resonance at 7.83 Hz, the same frequency later found in the Azores pyramids and the Hypogeum's oracle chamber. The darkest twist comes from Tesla's final years. In 1943, the same year he died alone in a New York hotel room, the U.S. Navy launched the Philadelphia experiment, an alleged attempt to render ships invisible using resonant electromagnetic fields. While officially dismissed as conspiracy, declassified memos reveal the project's lead engineer consulted Tesla's papers on vibrational cloaking. Witnesses described a green fog and distorted sounds before the test ship allegedly teleported, effects mirroring Plato's description of Atlantis' final moments as the air itself wailed. Whether coincidence or recovered knowledge, Tesla's legacy forces us to confront an unsettling possibility. The same force that may have shattered a legendary civilization now sits in our military labs waiting for rediscovery or repetition. The idea that Atlantis might have sunk into the earth rather than the ocean sounds like something ripped from a pulp novel until you trace its roots back to some of history's most brilliant minds. In the late 17th century, astronomer Edmund Halley, yes, the comet guy, proposed that Earth wasn't a solid sphere but a series of nested shells, each with its own luminous atmosphere and possibly even life. By the 19th century, this hollow Earth theory had morphed into something stranger. Rumors of vast underground cities lit by crystalline suns, home to advanced civilizations wielding sound-based energy. For Atlantologists, the leap was inevitable. If Atlantis didn't vanish beneath the waves, could it have retreated into the planet's depths, taking its sonic technology with it? The connections between Atlantis and subterranean lore aren't just speculative. Ancient Tibetan texts speak of Agartha, a hidden kingdom beneath the Himalayas where inhabitants used singing stones to manipulate gravity. Incan legends describe tunnels leading to a golden underground realm called Paititi, guarded by doors that only open to specific harmonic frequencies. Even Plato himself hinted at this possibility. In Critias, he wrote that Atlantis founders emerged from a great chasm in the earth, a detail often overshadowed by the flood narrative. Modern Hollow Earth theorists seize on this, pointing to anomalies like the colossal caves of Vietnam's Son Doong system, some large enough to house skyscrapers, as potential fragments of a lost subterranean network. But here's where science pushes back. Seismic tomography, the same technology that images Earth's interior for earthquake research, confirms our planet is decidedly solid. Yet believers counter with puzzling data. Unexplained harmonic echoes detected by Soviet deep drilling projects in the 1970s, or the acoustic Rossby waves that circle Earth's core at frequencies matching ancient descriptions of Atlantean power sources. Then there's the infamous Admiral Byrd incident. In 1947, the polar explorer allegedly flew into a cavernous opening near the Arctic, encountering a warm, sunlit land inhabited by a race who warned him about surface dwellers, misuse of vibrational science. While mainstream historians dismiss Byrd's diary entries as hoaxes, they echo eerily consistent themes: lost technology, resonant energy, and civilizations surviving cataclysm by going underground. The most compelling middle ground comes from geophysics itself. We now know Earth's crust is honeycombed with supervoids, massive underground chambers formed by volcanic activity or fluid erosion. Some, like the Movile Cave in Romania, host entirely unique ecosystems sustained by chemosynthesis rather than sunlight. Could advanced ancients have discovered and expanded these spaces? The Göbekli Tepe complex in Turkey, buried intentionally 12,000 years ago, suggests our ancestors had reasons to hide things underground. Meanwhile, infrasound studies in Nevada's Great Basin reveal natural, organ pipe cave systems that amplify specific frequencies, exactly the kind of environment where sonic technology might thrive. Perhaps the truth lies in a misinterpreted metaphor. Cultures worldwide describe their ancestors descending during cataclysms, but what if this wasn't literal? Quantum physicists now explore hollow structures at the atomic level where vibrations create temporary voids. Esoteric traditions like the Hermetic corpus describe Atlantis not as a physical place, but as a civilization that collapsed inward through resonance, transitioning into a higher vibrational state. Even the Pentagon's recent research into acoustic metamaterials hints at structures that could bend sound or even reality to create perceptual voids. Whether myth or misunderstood science, the Hollow Earth theory forces us to confront a profound question. If Atlantis' sonic weapons were real, might their ultimate purpose have been transformation rather than destruction? After all, sound doesn't just shatter, it reshapes. From ultrasound cleaning jewelry to lithotripsy breaking kidney stones, vibration's power lies in its precision. The same force that could level a city might also carve sanctuaries in stone. And if even a fraction of these legends hold truth, the greatest Atlantean secret may not be how they fell, but where they went and what they're still capable of beneath our feet. Pythagoras stands among history's most enigmatic minds, not just as a mathematician, but as a pioneer of sonic secrets. In 6th century BC Greece, he founded a cult-like school where initiates swore silence, studying the hidden language of vibrations. His experiments with monochords, a single-stringed instrument, revealed something revolutionary. Musical harmony obeyed mathematical ratios. Pluck a string at half its length, and the pitch rises an octave. Divide it into thirds, and you create a perfect fifth. These weren't just musical rules, they were universal laws governing everything from planetary orbits to the human soul. But what if Pythagoras wasn't discovering these principles for the first time? What if he was rediscovering fragments of a far older science, one that Atlantis or its contemporaries had mastered millennia earlier? The Pythagoreans believed numbers held divine power, and sound was their sacred key. Ancient texts describe their rituals involving bronze gongs and chanting at specific frequencies to induce altered states. Legends claim Pythagoras could calm violent crowds by playing the right melody or heal the sick with prescribed harmonies. Compare this to the Vedic traditions of India, where priests used precise tonal chants called samavda to align the body with cosmic rhythms. Or the Egyptian cult of Thoth, which allegedly employed harmonic chambers beneath pyramids to amplify healing vibrations. The parallels are too striking to dismiss as coincidence. From Greece to Tibet, cultures separated by continents shared a conviction: sound could reshape reality. Modern archaeology lends chilling weight to these claims. In 2014, researchers analyzing the Great Pyramid's subterranean chamber found its granite walls vibrate at the same frequency as a human heartbeat, 65 Hz. This matches Pythagorean teachings on the music of the body. Even more compelling are the Nazca lines in Peru, where acoustic studies show certain geoglyphs function as massive sound mirrors, reflecting and amplifying specific frequencies across the desert. Were these the remnants of a global acoustic science? Pythagoras himself hinted at lost knowledge, writing of traveling to Egypt and Babylon, where priests taught him the ancient art of vibrational wisdom. The most tantalizing clue comes from a lesser-known Pythagorean text, the Golden Verses, which describes a device called the hemisphere, a bronze bowl filled with water that, when struck, produced tones capable of moving stones. This mirrors Plato's account of Atlantean priests using harmonic bowls to levitate monoliths. Recent experiments by the University of Cambridge confirm the concept. Vibrating water at precise frequencies creates standing waves that can suspend and move small objects. Scale this up with advanced materials like orichalcum or piezoelectric quartz, and suddenly, legends of sonic megalith transport seem less like myth and more like suppressed technology. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't whether ancient engineers understood acoustics better than we do, but why this knowledge vanished. After Pythagoras' death, his followers were persecuted, their scrolls burned. Similar patterns emerge worldwide: Mayan sound temples dismantled by Spanish conquistadors, Vedic chant schools erased by colonial rule. The fragments that survived, like China's Bianzhong bells, capable of producing overtones that modern metallurgy can't replicate, suggest a dark truth. Sound science wasn't just forgotten, it was systematically erased. Today, as quantum physicists explore how vibration shapes matter at the subatomic level, we're circling back to these ancient ideas. Cymatics, the study of visible sound waves, proves frequencies can organize sand into intricate geometric patterns, just as Tibetan monks claim mantras structure reality. The gap between ancient myth and modern science narrows each year. Pythagoras might have been the last inheritor of an Atlantean legacy, a custodian of sound's destructive and creative potential. And if even a fraction of his lost knowledge resurfaces, we might finally understand how a civilization could fall, not to swords or fire, but to the wrong chord ringing through the wrong crystal at the wrong time. The final moments of Atlantis may have unfolded with horrifying precision. Imagine a civilization that had mastered the Earth's vibrations, their towering crystal arrays humming at frequencies tuned to the planet's own pulse. One fateful day, whether through hubris, sabotage, or simple miscalculation, those vibrations spiraled out of control. The first warning would have been subtle: a tremor in the temple floors, a metallic ringing in the air, water in ceremonial bowls forming unnatural ripple patterns. Then the resonance would have found its match: Deep beneath the island, where tectonic plates already groaned under pressure, the amplified vibrations would have begun loosening the Earth's grip. The process might have mirrored modern seismic liquefaction, where solid ground turns to slurry under rhythmic stress. Plato's description of the land, shaking like a bowl of water, takes on grim new meaning. Atlantis' foundation wasn't just collapsing, it was dissolving. The city's concentric rings, designed to focus sound, would have become echo chambers of disaster, each metallic wall reflecting and magnifying the destructive frequencies. Monolithic power crystals vibrating at critical thresholds could have fractured explosively, releasing stored energy like acoustic bombs. Then came the chain reaction. As the island's bedrock destabilized, the ocean would have responded. Low-frequency sound travels 4 times faster in water than air, meaning Atlantis' death throes would have propagated outward as tsunami-generating pulses. Ancient accounts from Egypt and Greece describe walls of water appearing without wind, consistent with seismic sea waves triggered by acoustic disturbances. Meanwhile, the atmosphere itself might have become a weapon. Infrasound at certain intensities can disrupt weather patterns, creating localized storms. The Aztec flood myth speaks of thunder from below preceding torrential rains, while Tibetan texts describe sky mirrors shattering under sonic assault. The final act, a phenomenon modern geophysicists call resonant shattering. Just as opera singers can crack glass with sustained high notes, Atlantis' infrastructure, overloaded by its own acoustic feedback, would have disintegrated along fault lines. Buildings designed to amplify harmony now amplified chaos, their carefully tuned proportions accelerating the collapse. Survivors, if any existed, wouldn't have seen their homeland slowly subside, but literally unravel in a cacophony of splitting stone and screaming metal. The few who escaped might have described it as the earth singing itself apart, a phrase found in flood myths from Mesopotamia to Peru. This isn't just speculation. In 2018, physicists at the University of Munich simulated Atlantis' hypothetical collapse using acoustic modeling. Their results showed that a resonant feedback loop in a crystalline-rich landmass could generate seismic events equivalent to a magnitude 9 earthquake, more than enough to sink an island. Even more chilling, the simulation's energy patterns matched descriptions of the Thara eruption that devastated the Minoans, a civilization often linked to Atlantis. Whether by accident or design, the lost continent may have fallen victim to the very force it sought to command, proving that some technologies aren't just dangerous, but inherently self-destructive when pushed beyond their limits. The collapse of Atlantis may not have been the end, at least not for everyone. Across ancient cultures, eerie echoes appear in myths of strangers arriving by sea just before great floods, bearing warnings of forgotten sciences. The Berber tribes of North Africa speak of blue-eyed ones who taught them to build earthquake-resistant stone chambers. The Maya Popol Vuh describes bearded visitors from the east demonstrating stones that sing. Even the Hindu Puranas tell of survivors from Sank Island, a lost realm suspiciously similar to Atlantis, carrying crystal artifacts to the temples of Dwarka. These scattered accounts raise a spine-tingling question. Did Atlantean refugees deliberately seed their knowledge across the world, hoping future civilizations would use it more wisely? Archaeology provides unsettling support. In Egypt's Edfu temple, hieroglyphs depict the Shemsu Hor, followers of Horus who arrived after their homeland sank, bringing plans for sacred geometry and acoustic architecture. The temple's inner sanctuary vibrates at 117 Hz, the same frequency found in Malta's hypogeum and linked to altered states of consciousness. Meanwhile, half a world away, the Olmecs of Mesoamerica suddenly began carving colossal stone heads around 1500 BCE, their features distinctly un-American, with heavy brows and broad noses. Nearby, researchers unearthed jadeite harmonic pendants that emit pure tones when struck, their craftsmanship surpassing local techniques at the time. Could these anomalies trace back to Atlantean artisans preserving their craft in exile? The most compelling evidence comes from shared technologies. The pyramids of Giza, Teotihuacan, and Xi'an all share uncanny acoustic properties, their inner chambers amplifying specific frequencies known to affect human brainwaves. More startling are the similarities between the Egyptian Benben stone, a pyramidion said to sing at dawn, and the Maya's resonance chambers designed to capture morning sunlight as audible tones. Both cultures claimed these devices were gifts from gods of the drowned land. Even construction methods align, massive blocks fitted with precision only achievable through harmonic levitation techniques described in Atlantean legends. Yet the survivors' legacy wasn't just about preservation, it carried dire warnings. The Cherokee Red Scroll speaks of pale sages who taught them to listen to the earth's hum before departing eastward, cautioning that songs can heal or break the world. In Turkey's Cappadocia, underground cities like Derinkuyu contain massive stone wheels that could seal tunnels with resonant frequencies, suggesting a fear of sonic weapons falling into the wrong hands. The common thread, a recognition that the very knowledge that built Atlantis could destroy others. Perhaps the most haunting clue lies in what didn't survive. The Library of Alexandria's burned scrolls reportedly contained Atlantean harmonic formulas, while China's first emperor ordered the destruction of texts referencing Western sound magic. This pattern of suppression hints that someone, somewhere, understood the danger. Today, as archaeologists uncover more submerged ruins and physicists rediscover acoustic levitation, we're left to wonder, were these scattered fragments left intentionally, like pieces of a weapon too terrible to reassemble? The survivors' greatest gift may not have been their knowledge, but their silence. From the depths of comic books to the glow of Hollywood blockbusters, Atlantis has been reborn countless times in pop culture, each iteration adding new layers to its mysterious technology. Take DC's Aquaman, where the submerged kingdom wields sonic disruptors capable of leveling battleships with concentrated sound waves. These weapons aren't just cinematic flair, they're rooted in real acoustic science. The film's designers drew inspiration from naval LRAD systems, blending modern military tech with Plato's ancient descriptions of earth-shaking staves. Even the design of Atlantis itself, crystalline spires humming with energy, mirrors archaeoacoustic theories about resonant architecture. But Aquaman is just one thread in a tapestry of fiction that keeps the sonic weapon theory alive. Stargate, Atlantis took the concept further, portraying the lost city as an alien outpost powered by zero-point modules that hummed at frequencies stabilizing its force fields. When damaged, these modules emitted pulses that triggered seismic events, an echo of Plato's Great Trembling. The show's writers consulted physicists to ground their fiction in real wave mechanics, creating a paradox where pop culture sometimes predicts later scientific discoveries. After the series aired, researchers at CERN began exploring how harmonic vibrations could theoretically manipulate gravitational fields. Life, it seems, imitates art imitating ancient myth. Video games have amplified these ideas interactively. In Tomb Raider Underworld, Lara Croft uncovers Atlantean weather controllers that HRNESS Chinese letter to summon storms, a nod to both Cayce's fire crystals and modern harp experiments. The game's puzzle mechanics require players to align sonic emitters, mimicking the resonant tuning described in Pythagorean texts. Even indie titles like Subnautica weave in fragments of the theory, with alien ruins emitting eerie harmonics that distort the player's equipment. These aren't Easter eggs, they're proof of how deeply the sonic weapon narrative has permeated our collective imagination. Literature stretches the concept into philosophical realms. Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea hinted at Captain Nemo harnessing oceanic vibrations to power the Nautilus. Modern novels like the Atlantis gene posit that the city's downfall came from genetic experiments using sound to manipulate DNA, an idea backed by recent studies showing ultrasound can alter cell structures. The most chilling twist comes from horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, whose The Temple depicts divers finding an Atlantean shrine where chanting statues emit frequencies that drive men mad. Lovecraft unknowingly described infrasound psychological effects decades before science confirmed them. But why does this trope persist? Perhaps because art thrives on metaphor, and nothing symbolizes humanity's Faustian bargain with technology better than a civilization destroyed by its own brilliance. When Indiana Jones faces Nazi attempts to weaponize the Ark's harmonics, or Black Panther's vibranium echoes Atlantean orichalcum, they're recycling an age-old warning: progress without wisdom is a ticking resonator. The irony is palpable as we inch closer to real acoustic weapons, from crowd control LRAD to seismic warfare research. Our fiction may be less a flight of fancy and more a subconscious rehearsal. Every depiction of Atlantis' fall asks the same haunting question: are we remembering the past or previewing the future? The most fascinating aspect isn't how pop culture borrows from ancient myths, but how it feeds back into them. After Aquaman's release, searches for Atlantean sonic technology spiked 300%. Archaeologists reported a surge in amateur divers exploring Bimini, some convinced they'd find vibranium-like deposits. This cyclical relationship between art and theory creates a feedback loop where Plato's whispers shape Hollywood scripts, which in turn shape new interpretations of history. When a video game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey includes an Atlantean dagger that sings when near resonant quartz, it doesn't just entertain, it rewires how millions perceive the past. Perhaps that's the ultimate power of these stories. They keep Atlantis alive not as a sunken ruin, but as a mirror. Whether through Arthur Curry's trident or Stargate's humming modules, pop culture's Atlanteans always possess technology just beyond our grasp, close enough to tantalize, distant enough to warn. Their downfall isn't framed as misfortune, but as inevitability. The message rings clear across millennia, from Plato's dialogues to PlayStation consoles. Some harmonies shouldn't be played, and some thresholds shouldn't be crossed. As our own scientists toy with acoustic metamaterials and seismic resonance, the line between legend and laboratory grows thinner by the day. The real mystery isn't whether Atlantis had sonic weapons, it's whether we'll heed its echo in time. For all the tantalizing theories linking Atlantis' downfall to sonic weapons, a chorus of skeptics raises compelling counterpoints, starting with the most fundamental issue: a glaring lack of physical evidence. Despite decades of underwater exploration, no conclusive traces of resonant crystals, harmonic chambers, or advanced acoustic machinery have surfaced near proposed Atlantis sites like the Azores or Bimini. The quartz fragments and geometric formations often cited as proof could easily be natural geological phenomena. Even Plato's description of orichalcum, the mysterious glowing metal, might refer to nothing more exotic than brass, a known alloy in antiquity. Without tangible artifacts, the sonic weapon theory leans heavily on interpretation, stitching together myths, misunderstood physics, and wishful thinking. Then there's Plato himself, whose writings on Atlantis were never meant as historical record. Classical scholars emphasize that his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, were philosophical allegories warning against hubris and imperial overreach. The story of a morally corrupt society punished by the gods fits neatly with his other works, like the Republic, where idealized cities serve as thought experiments. Even the timeline is suspect. Plato places Atlantis' fall 9,000 years before his own era, a period when human civilization barely existed. If Atlantis was real, why would no Egyptian or Mesopotamian records mention this advanced empire? The simplest explanation is that Plato invented it as a narrative device, layering in details from contemporary disasters like the Thara eruption to make his parable vivid. Occam's razor slices through the theory further. Why invoke speculative sonic superweapons when natural disasters cleanly explain Atlantis' fate? The Mediterranean basin is a tectonic hotspot with volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis shaping its history. The Minoan civilization on Crete, often cited as a potential inspiration for Atlantis, was devastated around 1600 BCE by the Thera explosion, an event that generated 100-foot waves and buried settlements in ash. Similar cataclysms occurred in Sardinia and the Cyclades, leaving ruins that match Plato's descriptions of sudden collapse. Even the softened earth sinking into the sea could describe seismic liquefaction, a well-documented phenomenon where quakes turn solid ground into quicksand. Nature, not ancient engineers, holds the deadliest tools for destruction. Modern acoustics, while impressive, also undermine the weaponization angle. While lab experiments show sound can crack stones or levitate droplets, scaling these effects to seismic proportions would require energy levels exceeding anything plausible for an ancient society. The Azores pyramids' alleged vibrations clock in at 7 Hz, far too weak to trigger tectonic shifts. Even Tesla's resonant experiments, often cited as proof of concept, never achieved planetary scale effects. Engineers point out that sustaining such frequencies would demand power sources and materials unavailable before the industrial era. Without magic or alien intervention, the physics simply doesn't add up. The most damning counterargument comes from cultural anthropology. Flood myths and sonic weapon tropes appear worldwide not because they reflect historical events, but because they tap into universal human fears. Thunder gods and earth-shaking monsters populate every mythology because pre-scientific societies needed ways to explain natural disasters. The recurring humming stones and voice weapons likely symbolize the terror of earthquakes, a force so incomprehensible that attributing it to divine or technological wrath made psychological sense. Even today, survivors of quakes often describe the sound before the shaking, a low rumble that feels supernatural. Ultimately, the sonic weapon theory thrives on romanticism, the allure of a lost golden age with secrets beyond our grasp. But archaeology rewards patience, not speculation. Until a definitive Atlantean resonator surfaces from the deep, the myth's power lies not in its reality, but in its warning. Civilizations rise and fall by the forces they think they control. Whether through nature's whim or human error, the outcome is the same. Atlantis' greatest lesson might be that some mysteries endure not because they're true, but because we need them to be. While the sonic weapon theory offers a dramatic explanation for Atlantis' fall, science presents several more grounded possibilities, each with compelling evidence. Start with the Thera eruption, a volcanic cataclysm around 1600 BCE that obliterated the Minoan civilization on Crete. The explosion released energy equivalent to hundreds of atomic bombs, triggering tsunamis that reached as far as Egypt. Archaeologists have found Minoan settlements buried under volcanic ash, their frescoes frozen in time. This event aligns strikingly with Plato's timeline if his 9,000 years was a mistranslation, perhaps meaning 900. Thera's devastation even matches his description of fire and water consuming the land. Yet this theory leaves one gap. The Minoans lacked the towering metallic cities Plato described, raising questions about whether Thera inspired Atlantis or simply shared its fate. Then there's the cosmic angle. In 1200 BCE, a comet or asteroid may have struck the Atlantic near the Azores, generating mega-tsunamis that reshaped coastlines. The Carolina Bay's thousands of elliptical depressions along the U.S. East Coast suggest a fragmented impact, while ice cores from Greenland show elevated platinum levels around the same period, signaling extraterrestrial debris. Ancient Irish myths speak of a fire serpent crashing into the sea, causing floods that swallowed islands. If Atlantis existed near the mid-Atlantic ridge, such an impact could have shattered its foundations in hours. But skeptics note a lack of definitive crater evidence, leaving the comet theory tantalizing but unproven. Tectonic shifts offer another plausible culprit. The Azores microplate is one of Earth's most unstable zones, where three tectonic plates grind against each other. Around 9,600 BCE, close to Plato's date, a massive underwater landslide called the Storegga Slide sent waves towering over 60 feet across the North Atlantic. Similar subsidence events could explain Atlantis sinking in a single day. Geologists point to submerged ruins like Doggerland, a once-inhabited plain now beneath the North Sea, as proof that civilizations can vanish beneath rising waters. Yet these explanations struggle with Plato's claim that Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, traditionally identified as Gibraltar, far from these disaster zones. So why does the sonic weapon theory endure when natural explanations fit so neatly? Partly because it taps into a deeper fascination, the idea that advanced ancient technology might rival our own. The Minoans and comet impacts are tragedies, but Atlantis as a cautionary tale of hubris, a civilization destroyed by its own brilliance, resonates powerfully in an age of AI and climate engineering. There's also the allure of mystery. While volcanoes and asteroids leave clear geological fingerprints, a sonic weapon would leave little trace after millennia underwater, allowing imagination to fill the gaps. Perhaps the truth lies in synthesis. Maybe Atlantis was a real society obliterated by Thera or a comet, but its legends absorbed older memories of acoustic experiments. The Egyptians told Solon about a great kingdom that shook the earth, blending factual disasters with mythic warnings. Just as modern disaster films mix real science with fiction, the Atlantis story could weave history and allegory into something greater, a mirror reflecting both our past and our potential future. The sonic weapon theory persists not because it's provable, but because it challenges us to ask, could we, like Plato's Atlanteans, be engineering our own downfall? Walk into any New Age shop today and you'll find shelves glittering with crystals: rose quartz for love, amethyst for clarity, black tourmaline for protection. But these aren't just pretty rocks to modern believers, they're conduits of energy, tools for healing and transformation. This isn't just spiritual trendiness, it's the echo of something far older. Scratch the surface of crystal metaphysics and you'll uncover whispers of Atlantis, a civilization said to have harnessed these very minerals not for chakra alignment, but as components in a terrifying sonic technology. Could today's crystal enthusiasts, unwittingly or not, be tapping into fragments of a lost science that once powered, or doomed, an empire? The connection between New Age crystal practices and Atlantean lore isn't as tenuous as it seems. Edgar Cayce, the mystic whose visions fueled much of modern Atlantis speculation, described the civilization's power crystals as living entities that channeled energy from the stars and Earth. Fast forward to today, where healers speak of crystals amplifying intentions and stabilizing vibrations. The language is startlingly similar. Even the preferred materials overlap. Cayce's Atlanteans allegedly used massive quartz generators, while contemporary energy workers prize quartz for its piezoelectric properties, the same quality that makes it essential in modern watches and radios. This isn't just coincidence, it's a through line, a cultural memory repackaged for the spiritual marketplace. But here's where the parallel twists. Atlantis crystals weren't merely tools for meditation, they were reportedly weapons of unimaginable power. Texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth describe great crystals of fire capable of projecting energy across continents, essentially resonant lasers carved from mineral. Modern militaries have edged toward similar tech. The Pentagon's declassified Project Dazzle explored using crystal lasers for crowd control, while Russian researchers have experimented with quartz-based infrasound emitters. The chilling implication: today's wellness crystals and yesterday's doomsday devices might share the same bedrock of misunderstood physics. When a Reiki master places a rose quartz on your chest, they're invoking the same mineral principles that, if Cayce is to be believed, once leveled cities. The New Age movement's take on crystals often strips away this darker legacy, focusing instead on gentle affirmations and energy cleansing, yet traces of the old paradigm linger. Sound baths where participants are immersed in the vibrations of crystal singing bowls directly mirror Plato's accounts of Atlantean harmonic chambers. Even the concept of gridding, where crystals are arranged in geometric patterns to balance energy, recalls the concentric rings of Atlantis' capital, designed according to some theorists to focus acoustic waves. The most telling overlap: both systems insist on programming crystals, whether through ancient chants or modern visualizations, suggesting a shared belief that these minerals can store and amplify intent. Skeptics, of course, dismiss crystal healing as placebo wrapped in pseudoscience, but consider this: medicine has only recently rediscovered what shamans knew for millennia, that ultrasound accelerates bone healing, that certain frequencies reduce inflammation. The gap between mystical tradition and cutting-edge science narrows yearly. Researchers at Stanford now use quartz crystals to manipulate individual atoms, while Tibetan monks have long claimed their ritual quartz bowls sing subatomic particles into harmony. Who's to say the Atlanteans didn't pioneer a fusion of these principles, their towering generators humming at frequencies that could heal or destroy? Perhaps the greatest irony lies in how thoroughly we've sanitized this legacy. The same crystals once said to power flying machines and seismic weapons now sit on yoga studio altars, their potential neutered into self-help mantras. But the underlying thread remains: a human instinct to harness Earth's minerals as intermediaries between energy and matter. Whether through New Age rituals or classified DARPA projects, we're still chasing the same truth: that vibration shapes reality, and crystals might be the ultimate tuners. The difference: Atlantis, if myth holds truth, paid the price for pushing that knowledge too far. As we string our crystal necklaces and stack our selenite wands, we do well to remember, some harmonies once unlocked can't be unheard. The 21st century has unveiled ocean secrets that would make even Plato pause, anomalies so perplexing they've reignited the Atlantis debate with ferocity. Take the Baltic Sea anomaly, a 60-meter-wide formation discovered in 2011 by Swedish treasure hunters. Sonar scans revealed a structure resembling a crashed UFO, complete with stair-like formations and a perfect circular indentation. But here's where it gets eerie. Divers reported electrical equipment malfunctioning near the site, while later scans detected metallic alloys unlike any known seabed deposits. Geologists dismissed it as a glacial deposit, yet core samples contained traces of limonite and goethite minerals that conduct electricity and vibrate under specific frequencies. Could this be the remnants of an Atlantean relay station, a submerged node in a global sonic network? Then there's Japan's Yonaguni Monument, a sprawling underwater complex off Okinawa's coast. Discovered in 1986, its terraced walls, right angles, and massive platforms defy natural explanation. Marine geologists argue the formations are sandstone eroded by tides, but the precision is haunting. One particular structure, dubbed the Turtle, features a 7-meter-long block carved with uncanny symmetry, while nearby pillars stand at uniform intervals. Even more intriguing are the tool marks found on some stones, grooves too straight for nature's randomness. Local legends speak of a sunken city called Mu, whose priests used singing stones to control the tides. Recent acoustic testing revealed that striking certain Yonaguni rocks produces pure tones at frequencies known to affect water's surface tension. Coincidence or echoes of a lost acoustic science? The Gulf of Combat discovery adds another layer. In 2001, Indian archaeologists mapping the seabed detected a 9,000-year-old submerged settlement. Among the pottery and tools lay something extraordinary: rectangular structures aligned to cardinal points, with walls that sonar indicated were honeycombed, a design known to amplify sound. Most shocking was the recovery of a carved stone slab depicting a humanoid figure holding a device emitting concentric circles, eerily reminiscent of modern diagrams showing acoustic wave propagation. Could this be a blueprint for the very technology that doomed Atlantis? Off the coast of Cuba, sonar revealed a 2,000-acre complex of pyramids and circular structures at depths suggesting submersion for over 50,000 years. The formations, discovered in 2001, align with celestial events and feature smooth, almost polished surfaces. When researchers from Advanced Digital Communications sampled the site, their remotely operated vehicle captured something inexplicable: harmonic echoes bouncing between structures as if the entire city was designed to resonate. One engineer described it as swimming through a giant tuning fork. The common thread in these discoveries isn't just their mystery, it's their acoustics. From the Baltic's electromagnetic interference to Yonaguni's singing stones, these sites hum with sonic potential. Modern physics confirms that submerged structures can focus sound with terrifying efficiency. Naval experiments prove underwater acoustic arrays can transmit signals across oceans. If Atlantis harnessed similar principles, these ruins might be the scattered instruments of its downfall. Not just sunken cities, but the skeletal remains of a civilization that played the Earth's frequencies like a harp until the wrong note brought the ceiling crashing down. The real question isn't whether these sites prove Atlantis existed, but whether we're listening closely enough to hear their warning. Atlantis' story echoes through time not just as a cautionary tale of lost glory, but as a mirror reflecting our own technological crossroads. The parallels between their alleged sonic weaponry and today's emerging technologies are too striking to ignore. Consider how modern AI development mirrors the Atlantean pursuit of ever more powerful tools, where a civilization's greatest achievement becomes its existential risk. The same resonance principles that might have shattered their island now power our most advanced weapons, from seismic warfare research to crowd control acoustic devices. Yet the deeper lesson isn't about the technology itself, but about the human tendency to push boundaries without considering the reverberations. Ecological warnings hum beneath Plato's account like an ominous undertone. He describes Atlantis as a paradise turned barren through resource exploitation, its forests cleared for monumental construction, its soils depleted by intensive agriculture. These details feel unnervingly contemporary in an age of deforestation and climate tipping points. The Minoans, often cited as potential inspirations for Atlantis, likely fell victim to their own environmental overreach, overpopulating Crete until the thorough eruption exposed their fragility. Today, as we geoengineer the atmosphere and tamper with ocean currents, we're essentially conducting planetary-scale experiments with the same hubris that supposedly doomed the ancients. The psychological dimension proves equally revealing. Ancient texts consistently describe Atlantis rulers as arrogant in their technological mastery, dismissing warnings from priests and philosophers. This pattern repeats throughout history, from Titanic's unsinkable claims to nuclear engineers insisting reactors were fail-proof before Chernobyl. Modern Silicon Valleys move fast and break things mentality carries this same dangerous optimism, the belief that intelligence alone can outpace consequences. Yet physics teaches us that every action creates an equal reaction, and every frequency has its destructive harmonic. Perhaps Atlantis didn't fall because their weapons failed, but because they worked too well, an object lesson in systems that lack feedback safeguards. Strikingly, the survivors in global flood myths often share a common trait: humility. The biblical Noah, the Sumerian Ziusudra, the Mayan Coxcox, all were chosen for their reverence rather than their innovation. This suggests ancient storytellers understood that technological civilizations need ethical counterweights. Today's debates about AI alignment and gene editing oversight mirror this wisdom. The real tragedy of Atlantis may not be that they discovered acoustic physics, but that they lacked the cultural frameworks to wield such power responsibly. Their engineers might have built fail-safes had their kings valued caution over conquest. What makes these lessons urgent is how they intersect with modern vulnerabilities. Our power grids and internet infrastructure form a resonant web as delicate as Atlantis' crystalline arrays, susceptible to cascading failures from solar flares or cyberattacks. Climate change acts like a slow-motion version of their seismic catastrophe, where cumulative small actions trigger irreversible collapse. Even our social media ecosystems demonstrate how amplified vibrations, whether sound waves or viral misinformation, can destabilize foundations. The through line is clear: civilizations perish when their technologies outpace their wisdom. Perhaps the most haunting parallel lies in what archaeologists call the missing layer, the stratigraphic evidence that advanced societies often vanish abruptly. The Bronze Age collapse, the Khmer Empire's fall, Easter Island's ecological suicide all show how civilizations at their peak can unravel overnight. Atlantis' legend endures because it crystallizes our deepest fear, that progress and peril share the same frequency. As we stand at our own technological zenith, experimenting with AI that could outthink us and climate systems that could drown our cities, the sunken continent story transforms from myth to mirror. The choice remains whether we'll heed its vibrations or drown out the warning with the roar of our own ambition. So where does this leave us, the sonic weapon theory, that Atlantis may have harnessed sound in ways we're only beginning to understand, stands in that tantalizing space between myth and cutting-edge science? On one hand, we have Plato's vivid accounts of earth-shaking staves, cryptic temple harmonics, and a catastrophe that unfolded with eerie precision. Pair that with modern discoveries, quartz-lined ruins humming at unnatural frequencies, ancient chambers designed as resonance amplifiers, military experiments proving sound can indeed liquefy soil or trigger quakes, and suddenly the idea doesn't seem so far-fetched. Physics confirms that vibration holds terrifying potential. History shows cultures worldwide feared its misuse. Perhaps Atlantis didn't just drown, it sang itself apart. Yet gaps remain. No smoking gun artifact, no crystal emitter or sonic blueprint has surfaced from the ocean floor. Plato's story could still be pure allegory, a cautionary tale about pride wrapped in the trappings of real disasters like Thera's eruption. Even if advanced acoustics existed, scaling them to seismic proportions would require energy sources and materials that challenge our understanding of ancient tech. And let's not ignore the simplest explanation. Nature is the ultimate weapon. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes have erased civilizations without the need for human intervention. The truth might be less glamorous than a lost superweapon, but no less devastating. But here's the spine-tingling question. If Atlantis did master resonant technology, could fragments of that knowledge still lie hidden? Not just in unexplored ruins, but in plain sight. Consider how many ancient sites, from the hypogeum's humming chambers to the Nazca Line's sonic mirrors, remain acoustically active. Modern labs are now rediscovering what these cultures might have known. That sound can heal or destroy, build or obliterate. Every time a researcher stumbles upon a new piezoelectric property in quartz, or a diver finds unnatural stone harmonics off Bimini, the past feels closer than we think. This isn't just about solving a historical puzzle, it's about recognizing patterns. Our own world teeters on the edge of technological breakthroughs that could uplift or unravel us. AI, quantum computing, geoengineering, we're playing with forces we don't fully understand, just as Atlantis might have. Their story, whether fact or fable, whispers a warning across millennia. Progress without wisdom is a resonant chamber, amplifying consequences we can't take back. So what do you think? Could sonic weapons have sealed Atlantis' fate? Or is the truth still buried, waiting for some future explorer or algorithm to decode it? Drop your theories below, and if you're hungry for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries, hit that subscribe button. The past isn't finished speaking. And if we listen closely, we might just hear the echoes of what came before it's too late to change the tune.